Hey, welcome to my channel. This is Coach Jineen. What I want to be doing with you guys today is just going over life after burnout. Let me give you a little bit of my background story, and then we're going to jump straight into this thing. My name is Coach Jineen, but people also call me Jineen or Huff. I am an award-winning nurse anesthesiologist. I have been a nurse for over 25 years. I know y'all like girl wear, but yes, and I have bounced back from burnout twice. And so now it's been my mission where I want to step into the shoes of the high stress nursing environments, ICUs, anesthesia, OR, ER, you name it, the ones who are super, super stressed. Did you know that I was reading an alarming statistic and it said 40% of new nurses are leaving the profession after 2 years? Now, listen, I've been in this game over a quarter of a century, but to hear that women are leaving after 2 years lets me know that the EAPs aren't working. It lets me know that compassion fatigue is really high. It's let me know exhaustion and the lack of resilience training is really needed. And so this has become my mission where I beat burnout twice and now I'm on a chosen sabbatical because I realized that when I started choosing me, it became something that was so important that I want others to understand that you matter. And so let's talk about it from both lenses as we get ready to jump into it. As a nurse, you want to be heard. It's normally ones who are private or your high talent, they're suffering in silence, they're crying. They're not doing okay. They're having self-neglect. To the employer or the hospital, guess what? If this talent is feeling this way, they're going to leave, right? What I tell you about that statistic, 40% after 2 years. So they leaving. How much does it cost to replace a nurse? What's going on with their productivity? How is that affecting your nursing care? These are all questions on both sides of the fence that need to be dealt with. And I'm going to be that bridge for you. So now that I fast forward through that, I wanted to give you 7 strategies. So we're going to break this up into a couple of parts so you can see it. So recently I was asked to speak at Women Leadership Conference and I was in Alexandria and they wanted me to come through as a keynote speaker and I wanted to share with them life after burnout. And I wanted to give 7 resilient strategies to help you lead, heal, and never lose yourself again. Where does that come from? That comes from my book called I Choose Me, The Intentional Guide to Never Losing Yourself Again. I wrote that book while bouncing back from my second bout of burnout. I know that was a tongue twister. And so for me, that book has sold hundreds of copies. It has changed women's lives. It has become my signature coaching program. It is rooted in resilience. And sometimes you don't even recognize you become the bridge until you are the bridge. And so, what I wanted to do here is that same space I shared with those women, I want to share it with you and give it to you in bite sizes because we need strategies. We're burning out here. And you don't necessarily have to be in healthcare to burn out because I burnt out in motherhood too. So, most of my clients that I originally was working with were ambitious moms, but I'm also a nurse. So I understand. So you could be leading at home, you could be leading at work, you could be leading in business. So this will be tools you can take with you and put it in your toolbox. So we're going to jump into this. There's 7 strategies. And I want you, as you're watching this live, to go ahead and put a 1 down in the chat and let me know if you understand. And then put a number 2 in the chat if you ever felt this way, meaning like, have you ever hit burnout? Have you ever felt so fatigued or exhausted that you started neglecting yourself? If so, it's so common. So you're not alone. Okay. So let's jump into this first one. So leadership begins with self-leadership. Most of the time when we talk about organizations, we look up to our leaders to support us. But if we don't take care of ourselves, how can you genuinely lead? Because people are behind us. If you're a leader, you are having people behind you and not beneath you, but behind you, which means you are leading them to wherever you want them to go. So if we want to relate this to nursing, if you're in a nursing unit, and I've been in leadership, I want my student nurse anesthetists, I want my nurse anesthetists to be able to get their goals achieved. And if they are not, they're watching me. But if I'm not owning my story and not doing what I need to do, they will not know either. They mirror most of the time what they see. So you need to lead yourself first. You can't pour from an empty cup. That is a no. I had to learn that the hard way. We would give right? And as a nurse, you just giving and giving and giving, and then you bring that home. So the resilient strategies of I'm doing this at home, but I'm also doing this at work. Where am I falling into that? Crumbling in a car like a video I saw on TikTok. I'm just saying this is real out here. The emotional bandwidth. Decisions suffer when you're drained. Listen, when you emotionally are depleted, you show up in a space where I would say you're hard to be around. You're snippy. You just don't have nothing. It's just very short tempered. You are emotionally unregulated and your nervous system is all over the place. I learned by going through both of my bouts of burnout, and I had health complications, which led to them being a wall and having no choice. But it was a wake up call for me. It was really like, you need to put your health in order. And until I started taking care of myself, I couldn't really take care of my family. So now my family's doing so much better. I really couldn't take care of my staff and all the things that I wanted to do until I really started choosing me. But then I started noticing people started noticing at 9 o'clock when she gonna take that break, when she gonna do this, when she gonna do that. Like I started showing people you can have permission to take care of yourself because the best part of being a patient care advocate is showing them that you matter. So therefore, they know that they matter. And it's in the little baby steps, right? When I'm coaching all the time, or even when I'm speaking, I want you to understand baby steps lead to giant leaps. So it starts with the little things. So that's the first resilient thing I want you to think about with a strategy. What is a little thing you could do for yourself? Have you looked at yourself and did an audit of where I'm self neglecting and check your emotions and see where you're going? Let's jump into number two. Number two is burnout is a misalignment of your identity. So, with burnout being a misalignment of your identity, let me tell you a little bit, like I said, about my story. I look successful on the outside. Okay. I just got top nurse in my state last year. I got achievements from being a nurse at 17, multiple degrees, critically care certified. All that looks sexy, looks all good on the resume on the outside. You become a perfectionist. When you're doing anesthesia, you want to be perceived as I'm going to do this to the 99% percentile. I'm trying to choose my words. What you're thinking is, I want to make sure this patient care is so spot on because I'm putting someone to sleep and I want to make sure I wake them up. And so the margin of error is so slim. So all that stress you carry, right? These patients are sick. I deal with a lot of death and dying and very sick patients because I really like trauma and I liked all those things. But that takes a toll on you, sort of like people who are in hospice. It's not their fault that the patients are dying. And shout out to the hospice nurses. But you emotionally, as a human, become attached. And then the external validation. Well, when I have all these receipts, it looks good. So then you seek for perfection. You seek for people to validate that because I have X, Y, and Z. Like I said, let my titles become my idols. You look like you got it all together. You're the strong firm. And the financial success. Yes, people want to run the receipts of how much, but it costs me a lot on the inside. I was recently out and about at the bank with my child, and I remember the bank teller remembering me when he was small, but she said, "You did a sabbatical?" Well, financially. And I said, I prepared for my pivot. I prepared for the things that I wanted to do because at some point you really do have to choose you. And so burnout happens when you're not in alignment with who you are and who you want to be. It sounds cliche when we say identity, but a resilience type thing is, what type of nurse are you? What type of leader are you? What do you want? Because you can be empty on the inside. Your values are missing alignment, right? Harmony comes when you get in alignment. We say work life balance, but really at the end of the day, it's about alignment. And where have you lost touch with yourself and who you are? And those were things I really had to deal with. So the strategy for you there with burnout is get in a space where you are identifying where you lost yourself. Start identifying where you're pouring out to and where you might need to cut back. Start putting something in action. Number three, self-care is a leadership strategy. Listen, when you work with me, I have my signature Bloom framework, but this is something that I want you to understand. Self-care is a non-negotiable. You hear me? Non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. But it's a leadership strategy. And it's definitely a nurse resilience strategy because when we take care of ourselves, we can take care of others better. And the goal for the organization is they want to keep their top talent in there. They want that productivity. See, when you refuel yourself, you can show up. So here are some strategies that you could take from this part. The power hour method. That's something that I teach my clients where it's 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes. Something 20 minutes that's effective, something that is efficient. And then the other is what feeds your soul. So every day you need to be pouring into yourself of is your efficient thing might be your task or the things you're doing at your job. It just comes second nature like our checklist. We love a good checklist. Now, when we have effective type things, those are things that you can sit down and do with yourself, journal, like what do you like to do where you could just be focused on that? Or that could even be focused work time. Okay. But you have to make sure that you're getting into a self-care ritual every single day. And when you coach with me, I'm on you about that because I want to make sure you're winning. Let's talk about boundaries. Okay. Boundaries protect your energy, whether that's time boundaries, people boundaries, work boundaries. Boundaries are important. I can tell you from my past, as a people pleaser and being in the tight field as a nurse and starting out so young, I really didn't understand boundaries because people would just tiptoe over them and I just didn't want to. I like to keep peace. And so at the end of the day, if I felt like it was going to be a problem, right, like the negotiator, I would just concede for the peace. But then what I notice is people take advantage of that and they try to get to a point where they misuse that. And that could be at work too. That could be your coworkers. That could be your family. Like you gotta understand that boundaries are for you. Understand? And then mental health. It's nothing like your mental health. We talk about EAP programs, but let's talk about some things with this. When you have EAP programs, they only could do but so much, but let's put the reality there. Do you really want to be telling your job about what's going on mentally? That's a no. And so you then have to go out get your own therapist. It could be money that's spent. Like you don't know what people's money is looking like, but you do need to tap into your mental health. Is that going outside? Is that talking to a friend? Is that getting rest? Rest is a full on thing. Like I didn't recognize how much sleep I needed till I needed it. It felt good in it. Like at get ready to be 42, I'm feeling pretty good and feeling like I'm looking better because of rest. Okay. And then the implementation thing is what part of your day needs boundaries? You need boundaries when you're taking care of them certain type of patients. You need boundaries to make sure you're getting your breaks and making sure you eat. And I was the first one to be like, nah, I worked through my break. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about me. It's fine. Or always taking the hardest patients because you got the ones who are the slackers and they be like, oh, it's just too hard for me. So I would take all the hard ones. But guess what? Load, 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 load. The mistakes that you get here that I want to interject as we are closing out for this part of the series is that the mistake that you have to be the strong one. Take that superwoman cape off. As nurses, that's where we struggle because we carry all that weight. And you have to get to a point that it's hard to take on other people's emotions and not internalize at some point because we're human. And a lot of times we try to hold that space for people, but it's hard when we need somebody to hold that space for us. And I think sometimes leadership doesn't even notice to check in on the strong friends because what I tell you in the first one, we look like we got it all together. So the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So if you're not squeaky, then they like, we don't got to tend to you. And I was one of the ones who wasn't squeaky, but I was burning out. And now I was like, it's a no for me. So this is something that I want you to walk away from knowing that when we're leading, we are the first. So you have to learn how to choose you. You have to learn how to have boundaries. You got to learn how to deal with your mental health. You have to learn that it's going to come a point where things no longer serve you. And you will get to a point where you decide this is a no for me and I want something different. And it's okay to pivot. And it's okay to take care of myself because I matter. I think that's where a lot of women that I know, and even just nurses in general, like it's always about what I need to do. The patient need this, the patient need that, the patient need here. I need to get meds. I got like you fall last out here. But I want you to understand you matter. So for the organizations, or even if you are a nurse leader leading your team, check in on the strong ones, please, because they're the ones that's leaving at the 2-year mark. They're the ones, and what we really have to look at is, why are the newbies leaving so quickly? What are they seeing that they're leaving? There needs to be some resilience. This is Coach Jineen. I am a nurse resilience strategist. I am a nurse anesthesiologist, and I'm also a certified life coach. And I specialize in burnout and self neglect so you never lose yourself again. If this is something that you love, make sure you like, put a comment down, but you can DM me because I would love to come to your institution and show you some resilient strategies on how you can increase your retention, how you can get a better ROI, and how you can boost the morale and the productivity of your staff. Because the goal is, if we take care of people, the people will take care of us. And ultimately, they'll do better with our patients. That's it for today. Bye bye.